If you've ever wondered, hey, when I go out to a property, I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to do. Do I knock on the walls? Then that's what you're going to learn today. And I'm going to help you establish yourself as an expert. And I'm going to help you uncover the seller's price that they really want, even if they won't tell you on the phone. All right, guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gary Bailey. I'm a full-time real estate investor here in Cincinnati, founder of homeflip.ai, where we help investors get probate leads. But I'm here to talk to you about today is once you get an appointment to go see a property, particularly for probate, what do you do when you get out to the property? And how do you get the seller to uncover their asking price, even if they won't tell you? So this week, I've already seen 4 houses. I've got another one that I'm going to look at today. So I'm going to take the lessons that we've learned from this week, and I'm going to explain to you today exactly what we did, how we got our offer accepted, and how we separated ourselves from everybody else that saw the property while we were in competitive situations. All right, so first of all, you're following up on their time frame. The second thing is you're meeting them out at the property, right? So they say, okay, all right, let's meet. When can you come see the property? So you want to arrive a little bit early, obviously. You don't ever want to be late. You don't want to hold them up. You always want to confirm the appointment. And when I make these appointments, I try not to make them more than 2 or 3 days out. But for sure, you want to make sure that you're communicating with them. You've texted them at that point so they've got your information. And then you want to just confirm the appointment that day. Confirming the appointment is really important. And a lot of times it can be overlooked or it can seem kind of naggy or like, why am I even doing this? But look, people are busy. So you want to at least follow up with them, just a quick little text message. Hey, hey, good to talk to you again. Looking forward to seeing the property at 4 o'clock today. Are we still good for 4 or whatever it is? And just make sure you get that confirmation because you don't want to waste your time. If you're looking at a bunch of different houses, you don't want to just show up and have them not be there. So confirm the appointment, basic stuff, right? So arrive a little bit early, 5 to 10 minutes early. If you want to, if you really want to do it right, you've pulled your comps in advance. What I like to do is I like to just, if I don't know the area, I like to drive the neighborhood. So typically I'll drive around and look at my comparable sales. So ideally you've got at least 2 or 3 comparable sales for the property. And so before you get out there, again, if you want to arrive even earlier, drive around, look at the comparable sales, get a feel for the neighborhood. Some neighborhoods, like the older neighborhoods like Cincinnati, you've got pocketed areas. So it might, this section of this one neighborhood might be different than this other section of this other neighborhood. You might, be driving into a subdivision and all of a sudden it changes where, okay, now there's new construction. So you've got to make sure that the values are accurate, that the houses that you've used as comparables are actually comparable, that the neighborhoods feel the same way. The lot sizes are about the same. The square footage of the houses are about the same. So you'll see, like I said, particularly in the older neighborhoods, you will see these areas where, okay, these are all like older Cape Cods that were maybe built in the 30s or the 40s, and they all have, this certain type of style. Then you might get across a street to another part of the subdivision, same type of houses, but those just look a little bit more run down. Because you have to understand that if you're somebody that's looking in a particular neighborhood and from the standpoint of a buyer, like a homeowner, the homeowners understand, okay, we don't want to live in that part of this area. We want to live in this part of this area. And because they know the difference. They know that, okay, that part's a little bit rougher. This part's a little bit nicer, and it's going to be reflected in the price. So you want to make sure that when you're doing your comps that you're not pulling from sections that are different school districts or sections that are completely different than where your property is. And the only way you're going to really know that until you have a lot of experience is by specifically driving the area, driving the comps. And a good time to do that is before you go and look at the property, maybe 30 minutes before, or you can do it right after, but I like to do it before. The other thing you need to have with you before you go and look at the property is you kind of need to have your preliminary numbers down. So the only variable that you should not know is the rehab. You might have talked to them and I told you a little bit about the condition of the property, but at the end of the day, you don't really know, does the furnace need to be replaced? Does it need windows? Does it need this? Because they may not know that, and they're not going to be able to tell you everything about the house. And this is why I'm so against a lot of these automated push button offer things, because the rehab is the biggest variable, and it's a huge variation. It's going to really affect your buy price one way or the other. And when you miss out on a deal, you're not going to miss out on the deal by $15,000 or $20,000. You're going to miss out on a deal by $2,000 or $3,000 or $100. And so understanding what the rehab is going to be by seeing the property in person is going to allow you to really dial in really dial in your buy price. All right. So those are things you need to have done before you go to the property. So you get to the property, you greet the person. Hey, good to meet you. Make sure you have business cards with you because they're going to be meeting with a lot of different people, and you want them to remember you specifically. Like, here's my business card. Whatever it is. Ours is White Box Properties. We use a nice business card. It's just got our website on there. It's got a little explainer video on it. They can check that out where they can see testimonials, other houses that we bought. All that stuff is important. So greet them, be very friendly, be nice. Hey, how you doing? Good to see ya. You just be a regular person, be friendly. This is their first impression of you. And if you're somebody who uses somebody that sets up your appointments for you, make sure they know that. So make sure the person that's setting the appointments will tell you, hey, I'm not going to be the one that's meeting you. My business partner, Gary, is going to be meeting you. Larry does the calls. I do the houses. So it's Gary and Larry. People think it's funny. So if Larry ever retires, I'll have to find another Larry or maybe Terry or Gary. But so when I go to the property, I'm like, hey, I'm good. Hey, I'm Gary. And they always get thrown off a little bit. They're like, oh, Gary or Larry? I'm like, oh, Larry's my business partner. I'm Gary. Larry does all the back office stuff. I do the rehab. They're like, oh, okay. Just explain them to let them know, hey, this is who I am. And again, it's so important to make sure that they feel like you're in control here. You're not trying to be a jerk. They just need to feel like, okay, I'm working with somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm not just some person. And it might seem like nitpicky that I say that, but I've been at so many appointments where I roll up and I talk to the person, whether it's the attorney or the fiduciary, and the way that we present ourselves, the way that we train our people to present themselves, I feel like we come across very, very professional. And then you'll see somebody else roll up after us and they like get out of the car. It's just like, they just got off work or whatever. And it's just like, oh, okay. Well, it's like a deer in the headlights look. Like, it feels like, oh, this is the first house they've ever seen. They've got like "We Buy Houses" magnet on the side of their car because they just do this part. Again, I try to avoid all that. I want them to feel comfortable and feel like, okay, this is somebody that this is what they do every single day. And even if it is your first deal or just a couple deals that you're doing, you still want to have that presence about you that, hey, man, you've been here. This is what you do. You feel comfortable because this person that you're meeting with, they've probably never sold a house before. So they want to feel like, okay, I'm with somebody. I'm comfortable, even though I've not done this before. This person has. So I feel like I'm in good hands. I'm not being taken advantage of, right? So that's important. So you greet them, you talk to them a little bit. Just ask them. Hopefully you understand the relationship that they have to the property, whether it's, their aunt or their friend or their mom or dad or brother or their kid. Just make sure you understand the lay of the land and understand the situation of the relation of the person you're meeting with to the house. And then the first thing I always ask them, I would say, hey, how's everything been going? How's everything been going? So I'm just asking them, hey, how are you doing? How has everything been going with the estate? What I'm doing is I'm trying to pull information from them for one, to help them understand that I have situational awareness of what's going on and what they're dealing with. But two, it's giving me valuable information. All the stuff I teach you and the little tips and tricks and things that I hear people say, it's because I ask them questions. That's like market research for you, right? You want to find out, what are they dealing with? What is the hardest thing about the whole process? So there's some of the questions that I ask them when I get out there. Now, you can go into my D2S property magnet training. I've got a whole section about like how to position yourself when you get out there, I do a comparison of like somebody who has, a little beat up Honda Civic buying a house versus a truck. So again, the positioning and the awareness that they have for you is really, really important when you meet them out at the house. Okay, so you greet them, you're outside the property. You want to take control of the situation. Okay. You want to let them know this is how this is going to go. Because they don't know. They're like, I don't showing you around, especially if you're the first person to see the house. They've never shown a house before. They don't know that you went to 5 other houses that day. So you need to take control of the situation. Let them know, hey, look, you're in good hands is how it should feel. Not like I'm in charge, like an alpha thing, but like you're in good hands. You're in good hands. Imagine this. What if you met with like a financial planner, for example, for the first time, or like an attorney, and the attorney was just like, oh, well, yeah, they're asking a lot of weird questions. They don't really know. Like, would that feel weird, or wouldn't you be a little bit worried? Or would you feel like you're in good hands? You would be a little bit worried, right? So just like if you're meeting with a financial planner, just like if you're meeting an attorney, that's how they need to feel with you. They need to feel, okay, this is what this person does. They're a professional. They're demonstrating value, right? You're demonstrating value. So you start off, you're going to explain to them, this is kind of how it goes. Hey, listen, all I really need maybe like 5-10 minutes and I'll be out of your hair. Thank you so much for letting me see the property. And then they're going to say, okay, well, here's the house. What do you want to do? I'm like, well, let's go inside. And what I always say is like, I typically like to start from the basement and work my way up if there's a basement. And then I always like to end on the outside of the house. This is key. I do the inside first, then the outside. Again, you can do it however you want, but I'm just explaining to you the way that I've done it because I think it works pretty well. Where I say, hey, look, I've seen maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I'm typically like to start in the basement and kind of work my way up. That way I let them, because they don't know, like, do you want to see this? Do you see that? And then you don't want them to feel like they have to explain everything about the house. So I avoid asking, I really don't ask any questions about the property. Because again, if you are an expert at what you do and you're truly a valuable resource to them, then you don't need to ask any questions, right? You should just know. And as a real estate investor, you should just know. If you ask them too many questions about the property, they feel obligated. They're like, well, this or that. You don't want them to feel like obligated or like this is some type of a test. You should be able to see how old the roof is. You should be able to see whether or not the windows have been replaced. You're there. What you want to do is get them talking about the situation. Like, how has everything been going? What's been the hardest thing about dealing with everything? Oh, it's just the stuff. It's this. Are there a lot of, you should know if there's a lot of siblings. So is it just you that's dealing with the estate, or do you have like some other family members helping you out? And they're gonna tell you this has been the hardest part, and just dealing with all the stuff, and we got so many dumpsters. You want to get them talking to you and understand, because when they're talking to you about the situation, not about the house, about the situation with the estate and everything they've been dealing with, then they're going to feel more drawn to you, right? Let's say you go on a date and you meet with somebody and you guys are meeting for lunch or whatever like that, and there's a potential interest there, right? If they're talking to you, they're taking a genuine interest in you, you're going to feel more connected to that person, right? It's just common sense. Anybody at all, right? You should be asking questions about them, not grilling them on the house. And I see so many people doing that. And they take the old school approach, and my buyers do this to me all the time if they're new. Don't take that old school approach of trying to beat them up on the house and tell them how, well, it needs this and this and this. You create a situation where you put yourself above them. And so when I say you need to establish yourself as kind of the expert and demonstrating value, it doesn't mean you're putting yourself above them. But if you start talking, it needs this, it needs that, it needs that, and then you're going to beat them up on that and tell them everything everything that's wrong with the house, guys, that's not going to help you out. It just makes them feel like, oh yeah. You're helping them feel all that pain. That's not going to help them draw them to you. They're not going to be like, oh, this is the person I want to do business with. So you get there, you're not pointing out everything that's wrong with the house. What I do, I talk the house up. That's what I do. Hey, oh man, this area is great. If I did another property, I kind of reference that. In fact, this one that we just got, we bought the house and right in front of it. It's like across the street. I was like, oh, you see the house over on Banning? Yeah, all this is super easy for me to come over here. We're actually doing that rehab over there. Swing by and look at it. They can see that the trucks are there in the driveway. The house is all painted. It's looking good. Like, oh yeah, we're doing that one right now. Oh, cool. So we get into the property. Here's what I do. I start in the basement. Typically, I always ask them, number one, after I've talked to them about the situation, I ask them, number one, is it okay if I take pictures? Ask that. You need to take pictures. Video would be even better. But I just ask them, hey, is it okay if I take pictures? Just always ask that question first. I've only had one person ever tell me no, and it was when I didn't ask. I just started taking pictures. He's like, whoa, what are you doing, man? I'm like, oh, sorry. So that was a mistake I made years ago. I won't make that again. So ask them if you could take pictures. Do you mind if I take pictures? And they'll be like, well, why? I'm like, oh, I'm just in a lot of houses and I kind of lose track of properties. I always forget, different houses. So definitely ask if you could take pictures, and say start in the basement. And I try to just like go. I don't like wait for them or anything. I just go like, okay, it's basement over here. And then I just kind of go. And if they want to like come with me, that's fine. But I prefer just to kind of do it on my own. So you have different people that, they really want to be there with you. If there's people living in the house, which happens sometimes, you'd obviously want to be cautious of that. Just be aware of the whole situation. Like if there's kids, obviously you're not taking pictures of things like, don't get people in the pictures at all. Just be very sensitive. And again, you're not beating them up. This isn't an opportunity for you to like grill them on the condition of the house. So I start in the basement. I want to check out some certain things. I want to check out the utilities. I want to look at the furnace. I want to look at the electric panel. I want to look at the water meter. I want to look at the foundation. I look for any foundation repairs as well. But again, this training today is not on how you analyze the house when you're out there. That'll be a different training. What I'm talking about today, this is more important than everything that's wrong with the house, is building that rapport with the seller when you're there and getting them to open up to you and reveal their selling price, their asking price, because they don't want to tell you most of the time. So while I'm looking at the property, I'm talking to them, asking them, how's everything been going? You know, has it been a hard time dealing with all of this? Yeah. And then I always ask them, like, well, for you, like, what would you like to see happen with the house? What would you like to see happen with the house? It's the first question I ask them. Oh man, honestly, and then they'll open up about really what they want to do. And like, well, you know, we don't really know, or, you know, my sister or whatever, you know, they'll kind of tell you more about what the situation is. When you just ask them, number one question, what would you like to see happen with the house ideally? And then they'll tell you. First question, right? The next thing you want to ask them as you're walking through the property, have you had a lot of interest in the house? Have you had a lot of interest in the house? That's going to let you know whether or not they've had other people that are out there looking at it. And, you know, if other people come through the property, am I the first? They'll say, oh, you're the first one to see it. Guys, if you're doing things the right way, then it'll be like how I am, where 90% of the time, I'm the first one to see the property, 90% of the time. But I always want to find out, because I am the first one to see it. I want to find out, hey, you know, what's going on here? Are there other people that are interested in it? What all is in play here? So I ask them, you know, it's a bit, as you had a lot of interest in the property, and they're, oh my gosh, yeah, we've getting calls, or I got a stack of letters this high. And then that's why I ask, well, out of everybody you got, how, you know, why'd you, if you got a bunch of people calling you, why'd you end up letting us see the property? What was it about our letter or call? Oh yeah, well, Larry, you know, he's just so nice, and he was the first one. So then I'm hearing that information, right? I'm logging that in my brain. Okay, we were the first ones. That's important. They seemed nice. He wasn't pushy. When we told him a month, he didn't call back the next day, which apparently people do that, which is wild to me. So again, it sounds like the overall is that he does a good job, which you can do this as well, aligning yourself with the seller's interests. So if you're aligning yourself with the seller's interests is important. So I'm asking him, have you had a lot of interest in the house? This is an important question. You want to listen to what their answer is. This is going to let you know whether or not you're in a competitive situation. Wednesday, there's a property that I looked at on the west side. I rolled up. There was a car, a big black SUV in the front yard, hooked up to jumper cables to a car in the garage. And it was the attorney, his paralegal, and then the like niece of the person who passed away. It was a wild situation. He was really funny and just like had a good banter and everything, where they were kind of putting down the house and, you know, talking about the value and all that. They joked around that, you know, they're like, oh yeah, $260,000, or which was like double what it's even worth. And so we kind of joked around a little bit about that, but again, just kind of built that rapport. But the question that I asked is the first thing I asked, no matter what they say, these are my questions. Like, you know, how's it been dealing with everything? How's everything been going? And they're going to unload their pen. Oh, we've gotten so much stuff out of here. Next question is, have you had a lot of people look at the property? Guess what? Oh, actually, you're the first one. There is somebody coming right after you, but you're the first one to see the property. Great. After that, then my next question that I ask them is, have you got any offers yet? Any offers yet? And I ask that whether or not I'm the first one to see the property or not. Like, no offers. Or if they say, yeah, we have gotten a couple offers, a couple blind offers. I'm like, blind. I'm like, how do they even know what to pay? They're like, oh, I know exactly. And I don't try to like talk anybody down, but I do try to provide some type of, I try to weave it into a conversation where I let them know, like, yeah, sometimes what people do, you know, blind, like they'll come in really high just to make you think they're interested in the property. Then they'll throw some like inspection period in there and then come back and be like, oh, sorry, we didn't know that, you know, the furnace was out, so we can only pay you this. And then they drop their offer by like 30 grand. So I said, that's, you know, that's kind of silly how people do that, isn't it? Oh yeah, I've heard of that, blah, 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 right? So you're finding out the lay of the land. Now, you don't come right out. This is very, very important. You don't come right out and ask them what they're wanting for the house, because they're not going to tell you. Like, oh, what do you want for the house? Well, they're just not going to tell you. Very, very rarely are they going to tell you. So you're asking these questions to try to get them to open up about the situation, open up about what's been going on, their challenges. Well, has there been a lot of interest in the property? Have you had a lot of offers, right? It's a progression. Have you had many offers yet? Nothing yet. Or yeah, we got a couple. And then I always throw out some crazy low number. Oh yeah, like what? Like what did somebody offer you, like 80 grand or something like that for this house? Oh yeah. Oh, would you believe it? Blah 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 blah. I was like, man, you're not looking to give this thing away, are you? No, they're just your. So they'll say, well, it wasn't that low, but it was this. Oh, okay. And then you can hear their reaction. Now, this is important too. You should have an idea of what you want to pay for the property, right? So your spreadsheet should tell you, or your calculator, however you're doing it, should tell you if the rehab is this, then this is my buy price. If the rehab is this, then this is my buy price. So I don't understand blind offers. Like you have no way of knowing, and it's going to come down to $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 will help you win or lose that deal. So I already have that number in my head. I know that, okay, if the rehab is this, my buy price is this. If the rehab is this, my buy price is this. And you're not going to present the offer out there, but this allows you to kind of gauge in what people have paid for the property. So you want to find out what other offers have been made. Oh yeah, we got a couple offers. Now, here's something I've been doing recently that really, really helps. It's an easier way to kind of give them like a little bridge to, to opening up about the offer. So I've already asked these other questions. Here's something I've been doing recently that works really, really well to get a seller to reveal their price, particularly on a probate property, is I ask them this. I say, well, have they done the appraisal yet for the estate? Have they done the appraisal yet? In most cases, they've not done the appraisal, particularly if it's early on in the process. Have they done the appraisal yet? Now, even if they have done the appraisal, you should have seen that appraisal and see what it is. What you want to know for estate properties is this. Most of the time, they're going to take the assessor's value. So whether that's the auditor, they're going to take the assessed value of the property most of the time as the value for the estate. So you want to ask them, and you should already know that going out there. You should already know what that assessed value is. So you want to ask them, hey, have they done the appraisal yet for the estate? I don't know. No, I don't think so yet. Or I don't know. And like, oh, okay. Did they just take the auditor's value? Oh yeah. I think they just used the auditor's value. Here's the next thing that I say. I say, oh, is that kind of about what you guys were like hoping to get? Or like, what do you think? Totally open. I'm not like, oh, this or that. Oh yeah, it's the auditor's value is this, and then they'll typically reveal whether or not they think the auditor's value is crazy. Because a lot of times they'll be like, oh well, yeah, the auditor says it's this. I mean, they're paying taxes on that, but that'd be if the house is all fixed up. Okay, so they're not necessarily going to be high or low on the auditor value, but it's going to give you something to kind of anchor off of. And if you know, like for example, the house that we just got the offer accepted on, the auditor's value was 132. We knew that. Why is that important for probate? Well, that's important for probate because they typically can't sell the property for less than 80% of that value. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. So the property might be assessed at 130. You might need to get it at 85. You're probably not going to get that property unless you get in really early. If it's a competitive situation, you're not going to be able to get that property for that price. So you're going to have to bid it up a little bit. Don't forget, like you're not operating a real estate business in a vacuum. There's other people that are going after these properties. So I'm out there. So the way I get them to reveal the price is I ask them, hey, have they done the appraisal yet for the estate? No. Okay. Well, sometimes they just take the auditor's value. Is that probably about, what it came in at? Oh, yeah, I think that's probably what they did. They ended up taking the auditor's value. Okay, cool. Is that about what you're looking to get for the property? It just gives them an easy thing. You're not throwing out a number. You say, is that about what you're looking to get? And then based on the reaction, you're going to know where you need to go from there. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then you're just going to leave it. Just going to leave it. Now you have good information. Now you understand the auditor's value might be, say, 130. And then specifically what this guy did opened up to me. He said, well, actually in both situations, they said, well, the attorney on Wednesday said, yeah, it's assessed at 112. And the seller already told me that if we get an offer at the assessed value, just to take it. Oh, okay, cool. Otherwise, we're going to list it. So now we specifically know. The house that we got last week, or that we saw last week that we got this week, same thing. I asked the guy, hey, did they do the appraisal on the property yet? Oh, they did. I think did they just take the auditor's value? Yeah, I think it was like 130. I already knew that because I went and saw it. And he goes, I guess they told us that we can, I know it's not worth that, is what he said. I was like, okay, that's good, because it's not. And he said, I would think then we have to take a certain amount. I guess it's he said 110 or 105, something like that is what we need to get for the property. It's like, oh, okay, perfect. He never told me what he wanted for the house. He just told me that's about what they needed to take. So I already have that in my head. So as I'm going through the property, doing the rehab estimate and, dialing in my final buy price, then I know exactly where we need to be. I also know if we're too far off or not. Cool. All right. So we've gone through the property. Those are the questions that we're asking. That's how you're getting the seller to reveal their price. Now, if they just won't even tell you anything, I just say, hey, did you get any offers yet? I throw out a low number to see what their reaction is. And then I say like, oh, what did you get some crazy low offer, like $80,000 or something like that? They're like, basically somebody offered us 110. And I told them to go pound sand. And I was like, oh, I was hoping to get it for 90. They're turning down offers at 110. So you kind of want to see like where their head's at. There was another one that we looked at last week in Milford that had a really bad foundation that the house is probably worth, maybe like 260, like 240 to 260. It needs 70 in work. And she's already told me they got several offers at 150 to 160 that they've turned down. Our buy price is 125. So I was like, well, okay, it's probably not going to be an opportunity. So then I just kind of know that. All right. So that's what you do. Now, when you leave, so at the end of the appointment, you've gone to the basement, you worked your way up, and you end up outside the house. You're walking around, look at things. Again, you're not asking questions about the property when you're out there. The questions that I covered today are questions that you need to ask the seller. That's going to help you get the seller to demonstrate, get the seller to reveal their asking price. It's going to help establish you as a valuable person and more of a partner, somebody they want to do business with versus somebody just come in and take advantage of them. And then it's going to leave them with a good taste in their mouth for you. And if they say, hey, yeah, there's a couple other people coming and looking at the property, I typically will wait to present any type of an offer until after those other people have come through. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I leave it at that. Hey, thanks a lot for your time. I try to spend more than 10 minutes there, maybe 15 minutes at the longest. I'll talk to them a little bit if they're just talking. Another thing, if they're talking a lot, just let them talk. You just let them talk. I ask them questions. How's it going? So you get some people that are just talkers. Just let them talk. Who cares? I also mentioned a couple valuable things that when we're out there, we always mention that, hey, look, one thing I want to put out there is that typically we'd always buy the properties with everything in them. We just tell them, hey, anything that you want to leave behind, just leave behind. Anything you want to take with you, just take with you. So that way we can deal with that. You don't have to deal with any of that stuff. That's the main thing that I talk about that we do. I never mention how many houses we buy. They don't care. They're going to forget anyway. I never mention I might throw out there, we've been doing this for a while. That's fine. But I don't get in too much about us because, again, they really don't care. It doesn't matter that much to them. Telling them all about yourself is kind of like bragging about your car or your house. It doesn't provide any value to them. But what does provide value is how you can help them. So anything I would say about myself would be, hey, what's your plan for the house? What do you want to get all the stuff that's in here? What are you going to do with all the stuff? And I always tell them, hey, listen, just so you know, the way that we work is anything that you don't want, just leave behind. Anything you do want, just take with you. You don't have to worry about it. Cool. And then I ask them this. I say, do you have any questions for me? Well, they might ask, well, how does this work or this and that? And I just keep it really simple. I say, listen, I'm going to present you with an offer. My goal is to try to get you as much as I possibly can for the property. And ideally, if you were going to sell the property just as is on the market, we want to try to get you right around that number, but without having to pay the real estate commissions. Will that help you out? Oh yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. And then finally, we're all cash, no inspections. We pay all the closing costs. And we have a title company that would work directly with your attorney. So on the day of the closing, you get the money directly deposited in your bank account. Because that's really all they care about is how do I get my money? How do I get my money? When do I get my money? All right, guys, I know this was, as always, I try to pack a lot of information into these things as I possibly can. Go back through, listen to this again. I think each time you listen to this, you'll pull out little different nuggets and little different things that you may not have heard last time. So I'll go and upload this to the training portal. Again, you can join my free community at school.com. It's school with a K, SKOOL.com/property magnet. You can access all my live trainings, all these live calls. We'll see you back here next week at 8:30 in the morning. Live from my back room. I'll be sharing some more success stories, and we'll be talking more about the next stage in the probate process. All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon.